Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for continuing to support ministry. We are so grateful and so delighted that you would partner with us as we partner with God in the matters of His heart. I just wanted to come on rather quickly today to do a brief study on Christmas. It's that season, and we are excited about celebrating the birth of Jesus. Now, before I start this, please know that most people can Google and research about the time of Jesus's birth and whether or not it was spring or winter. And I'm not debating any of that. I'm not even debating the idea that Christmas, as we know it, was really built around a pagan holiday. Not debating that either. But what I am discussing is why, if we do choose to celebrate his birth, and this is a season set apart for that reason, why we should. If you want to celebrate it some other time closer to his actual birth, then that's perfectly fine. But at least know why he is such a gift to the world. And so that's what we want to talk about today. And we're going to walk through a couple of scriptures and walk through a couple of things that the Bible itself says about the birth of Christ. And I believe that in doing so, we will see just what a wonderful gift this exchange actually was. And so we're looking first at Genesis chapter 1. And that's Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." In the beginning, God. Let's just stop right there. The Bible does not explain God, does not justify God. It just says that in the beginning, he was. It doesn't go into depth in terms of discussing where he came from or how he originated. It just supposes his existence. And so when we start there, when we start with the fact that God is, and begin to walk through each of the things that we learn about him just in this one verse, we see how awesome the gift of Jesus actually was. So what do we know about God just from this one verse? It first and foremost, that he is. That he always was, always will be. And there is no need to try to justify his existence, prove his existence, argue his existence. He is. And not only is he, but from his being, it originated the heaven and the earth. Heaven, in this particular sense, is talking about the atmosphere and the stars, the universe, if you will, space. Space is unlimited. It's immeasurable. Man has had some good guesses as to how vast space is, but scientists will admittedly say to you, even though we can put this measurement on it, that's not necessarily what the truth of the matter is, what the truth of the size of the universe actually is. It's immeasurable. You can't put a measuring stick up against the universe and say, this is how large it is. You can do some deduction, but you won't come up to a specific number. Not only is it immeasurable, but it's systemic. There are systems in place in each stratosphere, in each atmosphere, in each a separate universe. There are systems in place that keep that system in order, organized, and structured. Again, that's not something that just randomly happened. We always talk about the big boom that created the earth, and quite possibly could have, but it was created within a system that now holds it all together. And so just by seeing or viewing those two facts about just the heavens, we realize that God, the creator of the heavens, is immeasurable. There is no finding or searching of his magnitude. Because he is the originator of the heavens, we know that it bears his characteristics. The Bible says heaven and earth sing forth his glory. It's all exemplary of who he is. Not only that, but not only is he immeasurable, but he is systematic. He has a system in place and has thought about the systems that need to be in place in order to preserve life on earth, in order to preserve the systems of the atmosphere, the systems of the universe, in order to make sure that things are as they ought to be, so that all of the things work together the way they should. His understanding of the way the world works is far beyond our imagination. We see his omniscience in his creation. We see his power in his creation. We can measure and we can tell you what the systems are, but where man is limited is in telling you how they came to be, the way they came to be. How it happened that all of these systems work together and still we're able to preserve life on earth. And that's the second thing he made. He made the earth. And it was a prepared place for man to dwell. The earth is uniquely created to provide us with oxygen, to provide us with the correct gravity to keep all that we are from flying off of the face of the earth. It's provided the right soil in order for the right vegetation and crops to grow, to provide for us. None of this caught God off guard. He knew what it would take to provide for us and then did it. That's the awesomeness of our God, the greatness of who he is. And now I know I said I was going to talk about Christmas, but you can't really get how great the act of Jesus coming to earth is until you understand how awesome, magnificent, incredible God himself is. Why is that? Well, if we go now to John chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 14. So John, the Gospel of John chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 14. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." All of that greatness that is spoken of just in the first verse of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, all of that splendor and glory, the beauty of it all, was then housed in flesh. How magnificent it is that Jesus actually came. How awesome it is that God took all that he was and clothed it in flesh, and then sent all that he was, all that he is, to earth for us. Luke 2:7 says it this way: "He was wrapped in swaddling clothes and laid in an animal trough because there was no room for him in the inn." The greatness of our God, the holiness of his majesty, the might and splendor of all that he is and was and forever will be, he decided to wrap in sinful flesh, and then allow human beings to wrap him in swaddling cloth, lay him in a trough, because there was no room for him. There was no room for the great, glorious, mighty, magnificent God. How often do we miss out on the opportunity to simply make room for him? This is what Christmas is all about. It's not about the fact that we haven't made room for him. It's about the fact that he, in doing so, made room for us. What am I talking about? Philippians chapter 2, verse 7. Look at Philippians chapter 2, verse 7. It says, "He made himself of no reputation, took on the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of man." Why? would the Almighty, majestic, powerful, creator of all things do something like that? Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. It was because this God, who knows all things, can do all things, is in control of all things, didn't want to just know what man went through. He wanted to experience what man goes through. So Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15 says, he would not just know, but understand our struggles, our pains, our anxieties, our hurt, our disappointment. He would understand what it meant to be in this world. He would understand what it meant to be human beings. He would understand what it meant to go through what you and I go through, not just know it, but he would experience it for himself. He would experience the anxieties, the depression, the calamities. He would deal with all of it in human form, having emptied himself out, having made himself of no reputation, allowed himself to be given over to the instruction and rearing of human beings, also that he might know us, not just know us, because he knows all things, but fully understand what it is we go through and how we go through it and what it feels like to go through it. He would know that feeling so much that he would be able to release grace into the earth and give us room to be imperfect. Remember what I said? He made room for us. Look back at John chapter 1, verse 14. The structure of that verse is so awesome to me. I love the way it's written. It is written with this parenthetical. And what we know about parentheticals is if you lift the parenthetical out, then it can alter the meaning of the sentence a little bit. But it still holds its sentence value. It still holds the value of a sentence. It's not an afterthought. The parenthetical is more of the afterthought. The rest of the sentence is what matters. So when you look at chapter 1, verse 14, without the parenthetical, this is how it reads. It says, "And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth." He dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. Full of the grace that we would need in order to make it through this life, and full of the truth that you can align your life up with the will of God. He demonstrated that truth to us, but also lived it out so that he would know just how much grace you and I would need in order to experience that truth. There's so much to be grateful for in this Christmas season. I don't care when Jesus was actually born, springtime, wintertime. I'm just grateful that he was born. And if this is the time time to celebrate his birth, then I am going to fully engage in that celebration, in celebrating this great, massive, wonderful gift that God gave to us, himself. Remembering to make room for us in his grace. That's an awesome gift to receive. During this season, I pray that you will reflect on that truth, that Jesus' entrance into the world is also the entrance of grace into this world. Remember to share that grace with others. Remember to be a grace giver in this season. We are so delighted that you chose to partner with us as we partner with God in the matters of his heart. And we pray that as we go into 2018, you'll continue to do so. There is more to come. We'll keep you posted. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye-bye. Hey family, have you purchased your Grace Givers t-shirt yet? You can do so by logging on to graceministries-ex.com. All proceeds will be used to cover the cost of shipping 3,000 soccer balls to Ghana.